Welcome to our Below the Line Club Supplier Spotlight. ROC Associates is our supplier that we're spotlighting today, and really pleased to have Fiona Harris, who's CEO owner of ROC Associates, and she's going to be discussing with us how do we counter this labor crisis. In particular, how do we use technology and automation to help us in the midst of this labor crisis that's unprecedented in some ways. So just very brief bit about ROC Associates. They work with a number of businesses and multiple industries, including the convenience fuel retailing industry. They're also in grocery, hospitality, quick service restaurants, among others. And really, they're trying to take a big picture, broad-based approach to understand emerging technologies, what is out there, and then bringing that back to our firms to guide our needs about how we can implement and deploy some of these technologies and make ourselves operationally more efficient and better reach our customers at the same time. So Fiona, with that, tell us a little bit about some of the trends that are taking place in technology.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks, Jed, and I appreciate the invitation to speak on this. I think you said it. We're in unprecedented times and have been for, almost 18 months now. And that's sort of one of the things I've been working on for about the last year and a half is robotics and automation. I was fortunate enough to open a frictionless store using camera vision and weight sensors as opposed to having cashiers, lineups, and cash registers. And so as part of that project, I was fortunate to evaluate a lot of different emerging technologies, as Jim mentioned in the beginning. So there is automation out there for everything from food prep to cooking food to bartending to cleaning solutions. You've probably been into a Walmart or a Costco and watched the robots driving around cleaning the floors and avoiding customers. They also check for out of stocks, things like that. So there's an awful lot out there available to hospitality, grocery, and convenience stores to automate as opposed to having labor do some of the mundane tasks that need to be done in stores. So how do we decide where to invest? I think this chart is interesting. It kind of shows the blue line going up, which is the increased cost of labor over the last 20 years, let's say. And then the red line represents the lowering of the cost of automated robots, technology. And so at what point does that inflection point happen where it makes more sense to invest a CapEx investment into technology versus the increased labor costs and the labor that we can't find? So it's not even about replacing labor, to be honest. It's really about, being able to service our customers with the right amount of open hours and things like that. So we need to decide as companies at what point for us is that inflection point where labor is becoming too expensive, too hard to find, too hard to keep, and we might be able to replace some of that with automation and technology. So what are some of the technologies that I'm working with my customers on deploying? And not in all cases is it to reduce labor. In some cases, it's to build incremental sales. In some cases, it is to capture sales at the pump where people maybe don't always want to come into the store. But of course, any kind of automated technology is going to alleviate some labor pressures and allow you to put that labor elsewhere. One of the options that I talk to customers about is if you get to the point and you're looking at replacing your point of sale, let's look at different alternatives that are out there. This particular unit, this self-checkout unit, is using a weight sensor on that platform with overhead cameras. And so a customer literally can pick up the items, put it on the platform. You can see that there is a credit card device with a small screen next to the unit. As the items are placed on the platform, you see them ring up in real time, and the customer is off and going. So this is an option where it doesn't require a cashier to scan those Cokes and Smokes, and it's a very small footprint unit and would literally replace one of the point of sales on your counter. It doesn't mean you replace all of them. This would just give you an option for a self-checkout lane, again, to alleviate some of the labor challenges, but also to allow customers to use something that's low touch, no touch. So that's one example of using camera vision and weight sensors as a self-checkout unit. And I said technology isn't all about reducing labor. The second one that you see here, which is what I call walk-up camera vision, I've got customers piloting this out at the pumps to try to drive incremental sales. But if we talk about labor, if I've got some customers that today are having to close at night and become non-24-hour stores because of the labor situation, I've got other customers that are just having to, close kitchens at night. So there is definitely a direct implication and impact on store operations and the way we serve our customers. So yes, this could drive incremental sales, even if you're open 24 hours, because it captures sales at the pump. It also is using camera vision. Essentially, Jed, if you pulled up and filled up your car, the average fill up is about 4.5 minutes. Maybe you don't want to go into the store. So while you're filling up, you text a phone number, you get a QR code, you can walk up to this unit right at the forecourt. You can have snacks, you can have drinks, you can have pretty much anything from the store in this unit. And when the customer texts that number, a QR code will allow you to open the door, grab the snacks you want. Your credit card payment is tied to that QR code, and the camera vision and weight sensors capture what you have purchased. The next option is similar to the walk up, except it is walk in. So it could still be outside a store. If you have to close and you're non-24 hours, you have this option to have outside. Essentially, you can use your credit card to swipe. It opens the doors. We're again leveraging camera vision and weight sensors inside the store. And you walk in, grab what you want, walk out, and that transaction is in real time charged to your credit card. And again, it was the credit card that swiped you into the store. There are other modes of entry. Again, you can download an app, you could use a QR code. So that's the nice part. There's flexibility in terms of how you can access these stores. The third option that you see here is also walk-in technology, but it's within a building. And this is actually the store that I opened in Santa Ana, actually the first week of shelter in place. So I opened it remotely. And that is a walk-in convenience store. You download an app, you tied your credit card, you use a QR code to enter the store. There's a turnstile. You grab what you want, and between the cameras and the weight sensors on the shelves, we charge your credit card, and you walk out and have no interaction with people. This next device is something that I'll be piloting with several customers. It can be indoors or outdoors, and it cooks an artisan pizza, which has been taste tested against the majors, by the way, and it cooks it in 3 minutes. Again, we're talking about low touch, no touch. You used to walk up to that touch screen that you see to order it. Now you have an app, so you don't have to touch anything at all. You can order on the app, you wait 3 minutes, and the pizza is delivered in a box with a knife inside. And honestly, it's fantastic pizza. It only takes up 65 square feet and can be indoors or outdoors. So again, if you're having to close your kitchens at night, this would be an alternative to offer food to customers. If you don't have food service, this is a low cost, low labor option. You can partner with any local restaurants to act as a ghost kitchen for you. And with everybody suffering with COVID and having smaller crowds, it's a great way to prop up local family-owned businesses as well, to have them act as your ghost kitchen in assembling these pizzas.
And do you recommend from a CapEx perspective that people go slowly here? I mean, you want to move quick, but instead of buying 100 and rolling them out, you pilot a few, make sure the technology is working and engaging the customer.
Absolutely. So that's a good point. And what's nice about the emerging technology is that most of the vendors that provide it are very willing to be flexible in terms of the financial investment. They want to get their technology out there. They want it to be seen. They want it to be used. And with the camera vision and this type of technology, a lab just doesn't cut it. So the only way to really make sure it's tried and true is to have it out in the field, have real customers using it.
You know, do you ever get customers who are saying, "Oh, it sounds like a really cool technology, but I don't want to be like the beta customer"? What do you say to them?
Yeah, that's, I get that all the time. We don't want to be first. Nobody wants to be first. And I understand that. I do. But there's something to be said for being first, because you can either lead the pack and drive the technology in terms of roadmap, future functionality, and also get an awful lot of attention, right? If you're piloting something, even if you're at first, third, fifth, 10th, you're still going to get a lot of attention from that vendor because they want to make sure the technology works. So I think that there's some financial incentives to be an early adopter, and I think there's some technology advantages to being an early adopter because you get to drive the roadmap and be a big influencer of the future functionality. So when you're talking about the walk-up technology or the walk-in technology, these are a lot of the big players out there. So AWM Smart Shelf is the technology provider that we used for store 1, which is that Quick Eats location. And we've committed to 8 stores with them. For store 2 and 3, we're actually trying a different provider, which is Excel Robotics. And Excel Robotics is the company that does the walk up at the pump technology. They partner with MasterCard for their e-commerce platform. And we are opening those types of frictionless stores in MasterCard's headquarters, their 2 new headquarters. And that's why we went with Excel Robotics, because of their partnership with MasterCard. Grabango is another one that's out there. iFi does that mini store that you saw on one of the previous slides, which was out in the parking lot. They call it a nano store. And they're getting quite a lot of attention in Europe with doing train station platforms and things like that with that walk-in nano store. And then we've got Amazon, of course, which is the just walk out technology. Now that there's a lot of other players in the market, they have taken the technology that powers their Amazon Go store and have made it available to other folks to buy that technology. I'm finding a lot of my customers don't want to spend more money with Amazon because it's just going to give them more money in their pockets to disrupt our industry further. So it'll be interesting to see how much adoption of their technology actually takes place. Standard Cognition, that's another company that's out there. And then Trigo is another one. Zippin, actually, I didn't list here, but Zippin is another one. All of these are startups. All of them have pilots, going currently. Everybody takes a slightly different approach. Some believe you can do it with cameras only. I don't. I believe you have to have the weight sensors and the cameras. Everybody takes a different approach to the product training, getting the cameras to learn. All the cameras are artificially intelligent, but you still have to have them trained before customer one. So really, it's just they're all doing camera vision and weight sensors. It's how do they approach it that really differentiates them. Robotics that are already out there in use, and I won't spend too much time on this, but these are actual food service robotics that are currently in use. So they're all available and being piloted to some degree. And you can see there's everything from cooking hamburgers to drones delivering food to bartenders. We've got robotic coffee makers. There's a lot out there in terms of robotics. So we're seeing a lot of movement around robotics in quick service restaurants. The examples that I've listed here are actually in use today. So these are not things that are being planned. These are actually being used. So there's a lot going on in the area of QSR. And all of this was taking place pre-pandemic and pre-labor crisis. So I mentioned cooking hamburgers. So there you can see in the first one, Flippy is the robotic, and it is able to cook hamburgers. Now, again, does it replace labor? It can. But you could also then take that labor when the crisis is over and have that labor transition to making the consumer experience more enjoyable. Because it really is, that's the best way to differentiate yourself from the competition, is to enhance that customer's experience when they come and visit you. But a side effect of this is it's interesting. Customers love to see these technologies at work. So it can also make you a destination because people want to see it. I was in San Francisco before the pandemic and was stopped at a Cafe Express, which is a robot that makes coffee. And all it really does, Jeb, which is interesting, is it just really picks up the cup. It's the same coffee makers that we all see in convenience stores today that's making the coffee. But the robot moves the cup around, gets the cup to the customer, and then it does a dance, which is quite entertaining. So these robotics aren't just functional and useful, they're entertaining to customers and can make you a destination. So there you see several examples. And again, I think I've talked quite a bit on the details, but there are links in here that will take you to the websites where you can actually see videos of these technologies in action. Some additional ones as well, ones that serve the food. We've got a humanless storefront, which is interesting. So there's a kitchen in the back and the food is being prepared and the food gets put into that drawer. Your app tells you yours is ready. It tells you what drawer to go to, and there's your food. So customers are ordering it from an app, and all you have are the people in the back producing the food. You don't have the order takers. So again, interesting concept. It's live. It's on the West Coast. We now see robots for waiters. There are also smart assistant waiters that can go and get things for you if you need napkins, if you need condiments. So it's being used in all kinds of things. I was actually in Las Vegas not that long ago, and one of the hotels there, the Aria, they are using robotics to do room service deliveries. It surprised me. I was on the elevator. I'm about to get off the elevator on the ground floor, and in rolls a small four-wheeled robot, and it's got a sticker on it that says room service on the way. And so it literally takes the food from the kitchen, delivers it to your room. So interesting, fun to watch. People were quite drawn to it, and yet it did replace or reduce the need for labor. And I mentioned Cafe X, which is the barista robot. I met with that company, and the funny story that they told me, Jed, is the most difficult challenge they had was getting the robot to be able to hold the cold coffee because of the condensation on the cup. That was what delayed their deployment. But as I say, it's your same coffee machines that we see in convenience stores today. It's just that the robot is preparing it in the cup, putting all of the things in it, and handing it to the customer. And so there again, you've got the second one is the robotic bar system, making drinks, maker shaker. We have the coffee house, which is dispensing coffee without the need for humans. And another stride we've made recently with technology is in the autonomous camera vision store where we don't have humans, we're actually able to now integrate the cameras to the coffee machines. So we're actually able to start handling in these camera vision locations food as we know it today in a convenience store. So making strides all the time with advancing the technology and functionality. Here's some standalone vending type machines. So the pizza vending machine is one I mentioned earlier. You've got RoboFusion that does ice cream and shakes. The second one is Sally the salad maker. which dispenses a salad, but it can also do parfaits, it can do noodle bowls. And in fact, Chowbotics was recently purchased by DoorDash. So I think the larger companies are starting to see the value in this type of technology. The future is now. It really is.
Well, terrific. Thank you so much, Fiona, for all this great information. Any closing words?
I think now might be as close to that inflection point of the cost of labor going up with the cost of technology coming down, that rather than making these, multiple $1 million investments and throwing money at the labor situation, maybe it needs to be a hybrid approach of investing in technology and investing in our people. So I think the hybrid is maybe where we are now, a good mix of technology with the traditional labor force.
So Fiona Harris with ROC Associates, the technology and robotics expert.